So speaking of the playoffs, one matchup that's already set in stone is going to be the Dallas Mavericks going up against the Los Angeles Clippers. These two teams have been battling over like the last 5 years a lot. It's been crazy performances by Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard's had big performances. Paul George, James Harden is now in the mix. So it's definitely going to be an interesting series. I know you and I believe both of y'all said the Clippers are going to win the NBA championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so they're gonna have to get past the Dallas Mavericks. The narrative, is that Luka Doncic has kind of owned them over the last couple seasons. Warranted. He's had crazy performances, but Jalen, the Clippers are your team. I'm gonna start with you. Who do you trust more just going into the playoffs?
The Los Angeles Clippers. And again, I definitely want to address that narrative because I don't understand how if Luka Doncic owns the Clippers, but he's been bounced out twice by the Clippers each time. And the whole game plan for the Clippers is for Luka Doncic to score those points. Now, I feel like specifically the reason why the Mavericks were able to win certain games is because of the other people. And specifically, I believe in like the last series, like the first two games, like Tim Hardaway Jr. was shooting like 70% from the 3-point line, averaging like 25 the first two games. And then after, they made adjustments, they kind of wind that down. But I definitely feel like the whole notion is like that's their whole game plan. It's for Luka Doncic to get the buckets and then take care of the others. Now, I feel like going into this series specifically this year, I definitely feel like the Mavericks would be at a little bit of a disadvantage, just not having the same caliber of players like the Dorian Finney-Smith and the other defenders to really guard a Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, or a James Harden. I definitely feel like going into it, I definitely feel like their whole game plan is going to be to just stop Kawhi and really force him to be a playmaker. But I feel like they have the Clippers just have too many options offensively to really attack the Mavericks. I definitely feel too. Another thing, like addressing the Luka narrative too, I definitely feel we often forget that like Kawhi Leonard was averaging like 30 points and shooting 60% against the Mavericks that whole series, and if he really wants to, he could really outplay Luka Doncic in one game and really, win a game at any time. So I definitely feel I trust the Clippers more just because of the pieces. I definitely feel in the past series too, when they had Porzingis, it was more of a threat because again, he provides with a lot of disadvantages offensively and defensively, and I feel like too, you just don't have. The Mavericks just don't have that same big man to really combat like Zubac. They definitely have Daniel Gafford, but Daniel Gafford is 6'10". You're going against, a 7'2", offensive, like dominant. I don't want to say dominant, but he's definitely has a nice touch around in the paint in Zubac. So I definitely feel like offensively and defensively, I feel like the Mavericks are definitely going to be in that disadvantage. But I wouldn't count them out just too quickly because, again, they do have Kyrie Irving, and I definitely feel like he could show up big in moments. But I just trust the Clippers more and the roster more, and I really feel like if they need to adjust, they can.
Seb, the Mavericks or the Clippers, who do you trust more going into the playoffs?
I trust the Clippers more, but that's not a knock on the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks really has potential to really get the Clippers out of here this postseason, just on the fact that Luka Doncic has stepped his game up. The first two times that they met, Luka was still finding his way within the league. I feel like since, going to that conference finals and just being back in the playoffs this year, he knows what it takes now. He's way more seasoned and definitely has that it factor. And now that you add a Kyrie Irving too, who in playoff moments, we've seen Kyrie Irving rise to the occasion, alongside with LeBron James. So now he doesn't have to be that number one option. He could really be that number two guy to Luka Doncic, to where if Luka has got it going, all I have to do is, add on to his production. So Kyrie Irving is somebody that a great Robin to me. So when if I take it back to just, the Cleveland days where it was him and LeBron in that Golden State series, if Luka got it going on, and Luka's never had somebody that if he has it going on, that's going to follow right behind him too, just like, just get his own bucket, just really just give you that other 30-point per game. Before in the past, we've seen Luka Doncic have to, like, to your point, Tim Hardaway, just really like catch and shoot, or Spencer Dinwiddie, like, people that really don't need the ball like that to be effective, but Kyrie Irving is just like, I could really be 1B right next to you. So that's really going to be a tough task for the Clippers. I really need to see from this series to see how well that James Harden performs, Russell Westbrook perform, and the most important person that's got to perform to me is Paul George. Because I know Kawhi Leonard is going to be there, and he's going to have the toughest task on guarding Luka Doncic because you're going to have to throw bodies at him now. So it's either going to be Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. Paul George has to give Kawhi Leonard enough room to where he doesn't have to exert enough energy on both sides of the floor. So I feel like this is where Paul George has to be the X factor when it in this series, because in past series against the Dallas Mavericks, I've seen Paul George struggle. I've seen him average like 18. You know, they didn't look like he looked like a shell of himself, but he needs to be the definitive X factor. I feel like they go as far as Paul George go. So I put my trust in the Clippers, but I'm not going to be surprised that this is going to be like a tough series. Because at the end of the day, though, Luka Doncic knows how to pull out a game. He knows how to bring this to 7-game series. We've seen when the odds were against him, what he did against the better Phoenix team. So I'm not going to count somebody out that's, definitely been there before, has had a conference finals appearance, and now is just gaining more confidence and momentum as he goes along.
Right. I think this is a tough question. I think it's gonna be a tough series. I see it being a long series. I think it's gonna go 7 games. This was just really decide. This was really hard to decide on. But at the end of the day, I think the Mavericks are going to win that series in 7 games. I think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are both going to perform well. And on the other side, I'm expecting Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving to respond well. I think it's going to come down to all the others on the team. So, you brought up a lot of those people on the Clippers, the Russell Westbrooks, the James Harden. You talked about Zubac. Norman Powell is going to have to come off the bench and have great games. And the same thing for the Dallas Mavericks, the Tim Hardaway Juniors of the world. They have Daniel Gafford on the roster now. PJ Washington is gonna have to hit his 3-point shots. To your point, they lost Dorian Finney-Smith. That was someone that they could throw on a Kawhi Leonard or Paul George at any given moment. They don't have that anymore, but I think what they lost in Dorian Finney-Smith, they gained in a Kyrie Irving to now where Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they're both going to have to be very busy on the defensive and offensive end to try to stop Luka and Kyrie now, and not just Luka, and then just score on their end as well. I think it's also going to come down to coaching. I think, Jason Kidd has been a great coach, this season. I definitely think he should be a coach of the year candidate. But, Tyronn Lue is one of the best coaches in the NBA right now, very good at making adjustments. So anything that he sees in that game 1 that he doesn't like, he's definitely going to adjust in game 2. Speaking of game 1, I think that's going to tell a lot in the series. I'm interested to see how both teams just start off the game. They're both going to have some rest, so I'm expecting both teams to be on 100. But at the end of the day, just that narrative, and just to address that narrative that Luka owns the Clippers, I think it's kind of like that because when he's been going up against the Clippers on paper has had the better team. So when Luka defies the odds and beat them, that's why they say Luka owns the Clippers. It's not like they're saying Dallas has been better than the Clippers. They're just saying Luka. So I think that's why people just say that, just till this day. But I'm very interested to see who's going to win the series. I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers won, but I think it's going to come down to that game 7. And I think Luka's just going to show why he's a top 5 player in the NBA just right now.
Yeah, I really think it's a toss-up, too. And that's a scary matchup to see because it really goes both ways because I really feel like Luka Doncic in the playoffs just steps his game up to a point where it's like he's great in the regular season, but he's phenomenal within the postseason. And, like, we've seen it time and time again where it's just like, yo, how the fuck is he doing this? Especially, like, last time I seen him in that Phoenix series, I really looked at somebody that's just like, yo, like, he might be the best player in the NBA. He plays like he's the best player in the NBA in these postseason. And it's just like, you got to guard that for 7 games. And it's not like it's going to be a let-up. It's like he'll adjust, too. And we seen it when we went down the Phoenix series, and he had the confidence to say, everybody talking when they're up. Everybody talking when they're up. He came back and won the next 2 games and blew the Phoenix Suns team out by like 40 points. Then on the Clippers side, too, it's just like they're accustomed to like going against adversity. That year where they made the run to the conference finals, I seen a team that was down 0-2 in both series, between the Dallas series and the Utah series. And Tyronn Lue was that hell of a good coach to where it's just like, I'm gonna say, like, you could throw your best punch, but I'm gonna have a counter punch to it. So it was just like, damn, like, I'm really at a point. I'm just like, I don't know who's gonna win. I'm gonna say the Clippers, but it's like I'm not gonna be surprised at all if the Dallas Mavericks really pull out this throughout this series because it's like Luka Doncic really has that talent to where he could really get you out of a playoff series.
No, right, but I was my fault. I just want to say I also think it's just gonna be a little different for the Clippers this time around because usually when Luka's gassed in these previous matchups, the Clippers just win these games. Like in the past, they were expecting Luka to do so much. I'm seeing a lot more now this season that in those fourth quarters when Luka is tired or Luka is gassed, now that they have a Kyrie Irving on this team that can close out games, I think that's why they've been much more deadly. So I think that's just something that Tyronn Lue is just going to have to adjust to, and I'm interested to see how he's going to do it, because they didn't really have to worry about this too much in the past. Before, it was like you brought up Tim Hardaway Jr. They really had to worry about him, and I do think he is the X factor on this Dallas Mavericks team, because if he could average, between that 15 and 18 points a game and shooting that 3-point shot, that's really gonna help out Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic now to just get inside the paint and just try to dominate from the inside. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah. I don't want to seem biased, but I just feel like it doesn't feel the same for me, just because the defenders for the Dallas Mavericks, I just feel like on offense for the Clippers, I really feel like they have advantage in any mismatch. Like whoever's guarding, because again, like as much as Luka and Kyrie are good offensively, they have to play defense as well. And who are you going to put on? Who are you going to assign Luka to guard, and who are you going to assign Kyrie to guard? Because like I really feel like, especially you're starting Derek Jones Jr. as a wing against Paul George and Kawhi. I just don't feel like that same, because again, you could rely on like certain people like before when they had Maxey, like Cleveland, like a 6'9", power forward that could really that could like not stop him but kind of slow Kawhi down. And
don't
you
they
had
still have Cleveland?
Yeah, but he's in a lesser role now, and they kind of favor more to Dante Exum, and like
he's a good defender.
He's been great though. He's knocked down big shots in the clutch.
Yeah, but I still feel like that's a big mismatch compared to everybody offensively too. And then on the bench too, Norman Powell coming off the bench, and even in the event that I just feel like the Clippers have a big thing of switching everything. So again, I feel like they just have a lot of bodies. Even the fact that PJ Tucker, in the event they needed to use PJ Tucker just to hold Luka and give Kyrie, Kawhi and Paul George some leeway, they could just put PJ Tucker on Luka, and then Kawhi could handle like Kyrie, and then from there let somebody else beat them. I just feel like the Clippers just have more options compared to the Mavericks, because the Mavericks kind of have to really like. Luka and Kyrie have to play, but everybody else is like they're gonna have to be expected to do more. And I don't really feel like PJ Washington and like a Derek Jones Jr. and a Dante Exum is really gonna contribute as much as the Norman Powells, the Terrence Manns, the Zubac's, the PJ Tuckers, the other players on, even the James Harden. Like the James Harden, he doesn't have to do as much, but like there's too many other factors.
Whoa. James Harden's gonna have to do much.
No, but I'm saying like compared to like. I'm saying compared to the Mavericks, like Kyrie and Luka, like you feel me, he doesn't have to match that same energy because he has a Paul George or Kawhi.
He has to match it. I'm not.
But they
have less
more
of James Harden is not. I'm not going for it. To me personally, I get what you're saying. Like he's not gonna have to do more than the other guys on the Mavericks, but he's gonna have to do more in general. Like this is not James Harden. Oh, let me get like 10 points and like 8 and let Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. James Harden has to be the fucking definitive X factor. And then like feel me, I know I've been repeating myself. I'm like a broken record, and you said it thus far too. But James Harden is the X factor. Fuck Paul George now. I'm changing my opinion. James Harden is has to be the fucking X factor. I'm not gonna watch around and see him just wet the bed in the biggest moments. Now you have a great, like you don't even have a good team. You have a great team now. Like you really have a great team. You have Kawhi Leonard that's had two times you've been to the finals. 2 times final MVP, man. Like you really like it has to be James Harden that has to be the best player for at least 1 to 2 games. Mm-hmm. Just enough to get a win, just so Kawhi Leonard can at least rest, where you're not overusing Kawhi Leonard or you're not overusing Paul George. Because time and time again now we've seen James Harden fall short, and this cannot be the case this year. So he's gonna have to do more. I know what you're saying, but he's gonna have to do more than damn near Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, anybody. He has to do more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, no. Kawhi, James Harden doesn't have to do more than Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has to be the best player on the floor for them to win.
He has to be the best player
for them to win this series, period. Because if we take Kawhi out this series and he was injured,
Yo, we be fucked.
The Mavericks would be favored in this series. So it's like it's going to be a pecking order. Kawhi and Paul George are going to have to do their thing right now. James Harden is also going to have to do his thing. But then I want to say to you, on the other end, James Harden is also going to have to defend also. Shout out to Luka Doncic for knowing how to manipulate the game. You know he's going to try to switch as much pick and rolls as possible and try to get James Harden onto him and try to cook that matchup. And you bring up the PJ Tuckers and the Terrence Manns. Luka Doncic be cooking them. So I know you mentioned them to throw bodies at him. I completely understand. But I don't think Luka's worried about PJ Tucker and Terrence Mann.
I don't think he's worried about
they're good 3 and D defenders, but he cooks them on a consistent basis.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. Like in this previous players, that's their game plan is for Luka to get his buckets and everybody else shut down. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the games that they have won is where Tim Hardaway Jr. had like 6 threes and had 32 points.
But now you have Kyrie, and that's why I talked about Tyronn Lue's going to have to learn how to adjust now.
That's what I'm saying, though.
If we think about it,
but that's what I'm saying, though. If they, like, let's say in the event, like, because I know, like, in the event they, like, switch or, like, clog up, and now you have to kick it out to Derrick Jones Jr. in the corner. I don't feel that same threat in like a PJ Tucker. Like I'm not, you feel me? If I'm forcing like the ball out of Kyrie and Luka hands, like
PJ Washington has been a good
but I'm saying compared
3-point shooter for this team.
Yeah, but I'm saying compared to the other end, if you're forcing the ball out of Kawhi hands and he has an option of hitting Zubac in the paint, James Harden in the corner, like
I'm not too worried about Zubac offensively, and James Harden has to perform. We can't just stamp them now like they haven't wet the bed in the playoffs. More James Harden than Zubac, but Zubac, we're not like on a scouting report. I don't think Jason Kidd's like, yo, Zubac is about to be a threat.
And like, Zubac might not even play.
You don't have a big man though.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, Zubac might not even play.
Gafford is 6'11", is their big man,
yeah, but
and he's
mobile.
Been as solid in the second half in the season for a big man.
If Luka gets to switch on to Zubac, he's frying him, and it's gonna fuck up the whole defense too. So where you're gonna have to play help. Zubac might not even be a factor in this series.
No, I understand, but I'm saying on the other end too, they have to play defense, and how you gonna guard a pick and roll with James Harden and Zubac?
But I'm saying he might not be on the floor to run that pick and roll.
I'm saying on that pick and roll with James Harden and Zubac, and you have an option as Paul George in one corner and Kawhi in one corner. How are you going to defend that?
How is he going to be?
And then you have a lob to Zubac in the paint. Like I'm just saying,
we talk about Zubac as an X factor, but he cannot. I don't think he's going to be on the floor because at the end of the day, they're going to exploit the mismatches. Yeah. You got 2 people that if you get a switch and they get Zubac on it, it's a bucket.
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying like with the Mavericks, like they're like the one thing they have to do is exploit mismatches. I'm saying the Clippers have way more options on how to beat them than the Mavericks do. Like way more options. Like Norman Powell could get 20 and they could win that game. You feel me? Zubac could get a double-double. He can win that game. James Harden get a double-double, win that game. If Luka and Kyrie don't have a good game, they're losing. Like that's what I'm saying. The other people,
right.
Like
and if Kawhi and PG don't have a good game, they could lose too.
I don't think so.
Because now you're putting it on James Harden, and now as we're back in the playoffs, is he going to be able to perform? We can't just lock him in now as if he hasn't wet the bed in the playoffs. That has to matter in these scenarios. I get what you're saying. They have more options, 100%.
Yeah.
They have the deeper roster. But are they going to execute in those moments?
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, yeah.
It sounds good on paper right now.
More than the Mavericks.
It sounds good on the breakdown, but it's just like
Westbrook's gonna have to knock down jump shots too.
But that's what I'm saying too. Like
you trust
the thing of Westbrook. Like who on their bench? Who does the Mavericks have on their bench to even match like that pairing of Westbrook and Powell? Like who's gonna come off the bench?
Westbrook's gonna have to have to knock down shots though, bro.
I know he's gonna have to knock down shots, but on the other end, who's gonna match that? Like. On the Mavericks end, who's gonna come off that bench? Like Luka and Kyrie are not gonna play 48 minutes. Like
Luka and Kyrie's gonna play heavy minutes.
But I'm saying but that's what I'm saying on the other end.
Now the others like a Tim Hardaway Jr., a PJ Washington, a Maxi Kleber, a Dante Exum. They're just going to have to. That's their roster, so that's why I have to name. But they're going to have to knock down shots. And as of recent, in the second half of the season, that's what they've been doing.
No, they've been great.
So all we can do is talk about what they have been doing.
True, but I'm just saying.
I get the names. Westbrook and Norman Powell sounds more sexy on paper, but they have to do that in the game. Dante Exum has been performing very well. That's a comeback player of the year in the NBA. He's been performing. Gafferson's being here has been performing. PJ Washington, since he stopped fucking with Brittany Rayner, has been performing. like that's what they've been doing.
That's fact.
Westbrook, the name sounds good on paper. He was just on Shaq No Food the other day. He has to knock down those shots, bro.
That shot was
He
crazy,
has to.
bro.
I'm just saying,
Yo,
he has
Russ, I
to
fuck
knock
with
them
you, but
down.
what the fuck
Harden
was
is
that?
going to have to perform, and if he does it, we're gonna come on the show and say, yeah, James Harden's performing very well. Westbrook is knocking down that jump shot. But if we see now they start guarding Westbrook from the free throw line, and he's not knocking him down, he's coming out the game.
Yeah, but
I'm just
Tyronn Lue
saying.
doesn't have a problem with adjusting though.
For sure, we said
That's the thing I love about Tyronn Lue's game. I mean, just coaching ability is just that what he'll find out what is not working and what is working. So if Westbrook is in a position where they're forcing him to shoot, he don't mind. I think he could bring in a Bones Highland, somebody that's way more offensively gifted than a Russell Westbrook right now, to where it's just like for every piece you throw, I'm gonna throw right back at you. So that's what I'm saying. It's an interesting series though, but to me, it's just like the Dallas Mavericks is gonna have to work, but the Clippers is like they're gonna show that it has to work. They're gonna show that everything that they've been talking about from since the James Harden trade is gonna convert to what we want to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, this series to me is going to be a chess match, and Tyronn Lue may be the better chess player, but still, if Luka Doncic,
Jason Kidd is a great chess player too.
for sure. But if Luka and Kyrie catch fire, that's going to be very, very tough for the Los Angeles Clippers, because now that's going to open up things for that rest of that Dallas Mavericks roster. Like, I'm just saying that. So, but. When, how many games do you think the Mavericks, the Clippers do in that series?
I think Clippers in 6.
Clippers in 6 games. Jalen?
Same.
Clippers in 6. I'm saying the Dallas Mavericks in 7 games. I think it's going to be a great series, and I can't wait for it to happen.